This is the Night Wolf howling at you, and today let's go ahead and do another update on the G.I. Joe Classified Snowcat Haslab. We have, at the time of recording, just over 10 days left, so less than 2 weeks, and we still have not hit the minimum for backing. Looks like right now, I just refreshed it before starting the recording, we are 300 away from the 8,000 mark. So while I have absolutely no doubt that this will actually fund, I'm really not sure that we'll actually see any of the tiers unlocked, to be honest. And of course, as I think I've mentioned in a previous video, talking about the mess that Hasbro's after San Diego Comic-Con sale was, I canceled my backing on this. I'll redo it, most likely, because I'd still like to get this thing. And I do think it's cool. But the question is, how worthwhile is it without the tiers? Because when they came up with this price, they come up with this price based on all the tiers and the minimum amount they need for those tiers. Frankly, I think I'd rather have them just go ahead and do kind of like they did with the Ghostbusters and be like, here's our base model, here's our complete one with all the extras, and let people pick up back and forth what they want. Because think about it like this. Well, let's say you do want to get more than one Snowcat for your display, but you don't need all the figures again. I mean, there's the option of selling them on eBay or whatever, or at a convention, but that's still a pain in the ass too. Now, of course, people have talked about how part of the reason why this is done bad is because people were expecting to get the Mobat, get a G.I. Joe tank to go along with the Cobra Hiss. And I just wanted to bring up the Ramen Toys thing, because this is something I've mentioned before, and I know I've put it in comments, and I think I've said it in videos too, but I wanted to show you guys this, because I think this is quite possibly one of the reasons why Hasbro switched from a tank to the Snowcat, especially after they told us that things like the Snowcat and the Thunder Machine would not be Haslabs because they're too small, which is really doubly weird because the Thunder Machine would be about the same size as the Ghost Rider car was. Oh, and I mean, yeah, that one didn't really fund, but that's because that was a really poorly considered Haslab in the first place. Like, I only knew about that version of Ghost Rider from watching the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV series. But that being said, if you wanted a tank for your G.I. Joe, you've got this one from Ramen Toys. And it looks pretty badass. It's also currently $200 to pre-order. What you can't forget though is that this was also first the pre-orders at the beginning. If you order like a thing in the first few months, I think it was only like 150 or something like that. And then they added additional items that you could buy to add onto it to complete it. Now I've had my own problems with it. You can just look at my old video on this. But yeah, you can buy the bridge layer attachment, swap your tank out to make the bridge layer. And you can also swap your tank out to get the Wolverine. So Ramen Toys came up with a really great tank setup. But again, I think this is part of the reason, or why Hasbro ended up going with the Snowcat, was because people were already ordering this tank, and it was a hell of a lot cheaper. Which is funny because I feel like a lot of Ramen Toys stuff is kind of overpriced because of what they're doing. Like the Makina. I like the Makina stuff. They're doing a great job on those vehicles and figures, but they're expensive as hell. Of course, other people have suggested that part of the problem is that people weren't expecting the Snowcat. I think we just kind of covered that a bit. But I think one of the other problems, and I've mentioned this, I believe, in one of my community posts, but I've also heard other people talk about this in videos. It's because there isn't really any winter stuff coming out for this at the moment. What they should have done was kind of pre-charge the whole winter play theme by releasing the Polar Battle Bear, maybe with a generic G.I. Joe Arctic Trooper, or a pair of generic Arctic Troopers, like one woman, one man, I don't know. Put out the Polar Battle Bear, but you could have also put out the other Joes who are winter themed. Heck, man, I mean, they gave us a Desert Snake Eyes when I don't believe one of those existed before. We could have gone ahead and done some winter themed other characters as well. Although I guess technically we have Radioactive Snake Eyes with the Polar Bear. But that's not quite good enough to get people to buy this. And I think that's part of the issue. It's just there's not much else out for the whole Arctic theme. And I listened to one video where somebody did mention the name of a Cobra Arctic vehicle. Something like that out too would have helped. Because so far all we really have is Snow Job, the Snow Vipers, the Arctic Bat, and I guess we have the Winter Storm Shadow that was an Amazon exclusive. So there isn't really much Arctic items out there to get people excited about this one. So that's a huge problem. Aside from that, I've also mentioned previously that I think in a lot of cases people aren't buying multiples anymore like they were previously, because people now have 2 to 3 Haslab G.I. Joe sets and have realized how big they are. That's one of the reasons why I was only ordering one in the first place, was because just I don't have the room for it. I still have one Hiss tank in the box and one Dragonfly in the box. I got in my second Rattler, and while I do plan on displaying that, I don't have the shelves yet that I wanted to get to put it on. So I haven't bothered to open that one yet either. The Snowcat's one that might be kind of cool to have 2 displays, especially since you can turn it into a troop carrier. But you don't have the Arctic figures to fill in the troop carrier anyway, so it doesn't matter. So I think that's also a problem. I know a lot of people like to say that the people who buy like the extras on the Haslabs to sell them, they keep on referring to them as scalpers. But in this case, everybody's got a chance to get this, so they're not actually scalpers. The scalpers are the people who go in and grab the shit before anybody else can get it. This is, if you've got the money to buy it at the time, you can order it. People who buy extras of this to sell, they're just basically resellers. So I just wanted to throw that one out there because that's been one of my pet peeves with all of these crowdfunding items that we've seen and people complaining about it after the fact. Oh, how dare they sell it for twice as much once it's been out? I couldn't get it when it came on there. I should still be able to get it for the original price. So they're just scalping. Yes, I have seen that argument, by the way. But overall, that's my thoughts on this. I had a couple other things I wanted to say, but I can't remember what they are, to be perfectly honest. I'm still planning on backing this again. Just after I cancel the first one, I'm going to reback it. But I'm probably going to wait a few days on that. One of the issues with this, too, is it's just like when you get right down to it, it's the money. And we got so many items that we've had to pre-order and we're waiting on, and they all start coming out at one time. Like just last week, like I had like a bunch of G.I. Joe stuff and a bunch of Masters of the Universe stuff all shipped to me at the same time. It was nuts. So it's all stuff you really can't put it on your debit card. You have to put it on a credit card. Otherwise, you're going to get screwed by the drafts and fees and stuff. But before we go, let's go ahead and take one more quick refresh and see if anything has changed in the couple minutes I did. Nope. No new ones in the last 10 minutes I've been recording, though this video probably won't be quite that long. So again, just let me know what you guys think, and are there other reasons why you think this isn't selling? They didn't do a particularly good job selling this at San Diego Comic-Con either, it sounded like. I wasn't there, so I can't say for sure. Leave a like if you think Hasbro effed up this release. As always, if you want to hear more of my nonsense, please feel free to subscribe. I thank you for watching. Peace and love. But, put out the polar bear bit.